I gave people all the stuff they really needed. Social Security checks, utility bills, TV guide.
I want a TV guidance counselor. TV guidance counselor. Staying up to watch all night, and everything's gonna be alright with my TV guidance counselor.
Hello and welcome to TV Guidance Counselor. I am Ken Reed, your TV Guidance Counselor, and this is the show where each and every week since February 14, 2014, I've welcomed an interesting person to the show to discuss classic television using a TV guide magazine from my personal collection as the inspiration for our conversation. It is, third week in August here, so hopefully you're staying cool. There's a massive, disgusting heat wave throughout the U.S. and Europe here. Also, if you hear like clanging, that's Larry. He's got an ear infection, so he's sitting here with me and is being petted, so he'll shut up. It's very hot. It's very hot. I hope you're cool enough. This week, in close to 1,000 guests and over 800 episodes, this week is, to the best of my knowledge, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the first time I've had a ventriloquist on the show. My guest this week is April Brucker. She is a Las Vegas-based ventriloquist. You have seen her on TV, and she is an author and historian, which is really the main reason why you will want to listen to this episode. I mean, it's a very fun chat as well, but she's incredibly knowledgeable about all things showbiz and especially ventriloquism, to the point that she has a new book out, came out about a month ago, called 250 Years of American Ventriloquism, How Ventriloquism Influenced American Culture. So ventriloquism, American, same age as America. America's 250, American Ventriloquism 250. But it's a very, very interesting, very well-researched book. It's very insightful. She's also very funny and a very talented ventriloquist, a skill I do not possess. That skill being talent. No, ventriloquism. It's my brain's boiling. Anyway, hope you guys are doing all right. Feel free to email me at tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com or ken@icanread.com, or go over to Patreon. You can be a free member. If you have $1 a month, that'd be cool. If you have $5 or more a month, you will get this 1950s issue of TV Guide in a PDF format, and you can follow along with us as we discuss the first time a ventriloquist was on the Ed Sullivan Show and a lot of other stuff from this year in I believe it's 55. No, I think it's 56. I don't remember. It's 55 or 56, guys. Just look. It'll be in the show description. Go on Amazon, buy April's book. You can also go to her website, aprilbrucker.tv, and read all about her there. If you can't find those links, just send me a message. Send me a message on Patreon. Whatever you want to do. Let me know if there are books you've read that you like and you want me to try to get the author on, or that I might enjoy, or someone you'd like to hear me talk to. I like hearing all those things. Anyway, please sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, April Brucker.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
Live via satellite from Las Vegas. April, how are you?
Good. How are you? I am thrilled to be here.
I'm happy to have you. I think you might be the first ventriloquist I've had on the show. Thinking about it, I think you are. In 800 episodes, I think you may be the inaugural.
You're a ventriloquist virgin.
Yes, that's true. Hopefully not after this.
No, you won't be. And I say this out of love. You'll be meeting Mae Wilson later, and Mae Wilson is she is very forward. Okay. I'm used to that with puppets. It's puppet or figure. It's puppet, figure. I call them my children.
Okay.
But you can call them whatever you want. Just don't call them late for dinner. That's my grandma's joke.
Because I'm trying to think if I even have worked, because I've been doing stand-up a long time, and I'm like, I don't even know if I've worked with a ventriloquist.
Really?
Which actually is surprising to me, because I've done a lot of like variety shows and like that kind of stuff, burlesque shows, and no. So thank you for joining the show and being the first.
Well, this is going to be your first. I was on a program the other day where I was this kid's first ventriloquist. His father was recording And I said, "You're always going to remember your first ventriloquist, aren't you?" And the kid goes, "No."
At least he's being honest. He's being honest, and also very freeing.
Yeah, from the mouth of babes, absolutely, yeah.
So the issue you picked here, this is for a very specific ventriloquist reason, but it's December 31st to January 6th, 1955. And this is decades and half a century well above the year that I would assume what you would pick from what you watched growing up. But I presume this is a ventriloquist connected issue. And I must say that on the cover of the issue is a very cute basset hound with like a classic 50s hot water bottle compress on his head because it's New Year's Eve. So he's presumably hungover.
Yes. Oh, of course. Yeah, it's New Year's Eve. And I picked it for two reasons. One, Ed Sullivan had Ricky Lane, who would become one of the most, the most viewed guests on his show. And he had Ricky Lane in Velvo on 48 times. And this 48. Would be Ricky Lane's debut with Velvo. And the story behind that was Ricky Lane grew up working the circuit with his vaudeville parents, and he was a physical comedian. But he needed a finish for his act, like a finale. So he decided, I'm going to do a ventriloquist act. And the original name of his sidekick was William Gladstone, after the sleeping bag. And so he joins the army, comes out of the army, and he does the act. And the finale gets more of a reception than the act itself. So the sidekick, because the Catskills become big after World War II, because you have all the Jewish refugees coming from Europe, the sidekick is renamed Velvo because Velvo is Yiddish for William. And he's getting all this pressure to change the name or whatnot from agents, and he's not doing it. And this is a very Yiddish character. And so Nat King Cole sees Ricky Lane in Velvo, loves him, says to Ed Sullivan, you got to have him on. Ed said, I don't book an act unless I see it. Well, Nat King Cole said, listen, if they bomb, I'll do my next appearance for free. You have my word as a gentleman. And so Nat King Cole never did anything for free. So he meant it. Fast forward, Ricky Lane and Velvo come on Ed Sullivan. Ed Sullivan loves him, has never laughed harder in his life. And they make 48 appearances. But what made them so monumental was this was during the Red Scare, where America was extremely anti-Semitic. So this was a very Jewish character in your living room from New York City. And if you were middle American, it's like, hey, he's funny. And it just kind of bridged that gap. And the second reason was Edgar Bergen hosted a show called Do You Trust Your Wife? And it was a primetime show with his figures, Effie Clinker, Mortimer Snerd, and Charlie McCarthy. And eventually it was revamped for daytime television with Johnny Carson. It was Johnny Carson's first gig, and it was with Ed McMahon. And Ed McMahon actually got the job because he comes into the studio, he meets Johnny Carson, he gets the handshake, and a few weeks later, Carson calls him and says, hey, where's your suit? So, but the show started with a ventriloquist, and they wanted a hipper dynamic because daytime television was becoming a thing. So those are the two reasons that I picked it. I know, I circled the airport a bunch.
No, it's very interesting to me too, because I first of all, Ed McMahon, Boston guy originally, was a radio guy here. Mm-hmm. And there's several old school donut places in my area that I say to my wife all the time. We go in there, and there's just like 9 Ed McMahons hanging out.
Oh, probably.
Every single guy in there looks like Ed McMahon.
Well, listen, it's not happening unless he's got a check for the Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah, 100%. That's how he pays for his donuts. He just signs that check over. But it's fascinating to me too, because like Edgar Bergen is sort of the cliche thing where they're like, he's a ventriloquist on the radio. Like he, by 55, I mean, he's been famous as a ventriloquist for probably 20 years, I'm thinking at that point.
Longer than that. He was famous on vaudeville, and I talk about it in my book. I'm just going to hold it up, even though we're on audio. 250 Years of Ventriloquism, How Ventriloquism Influenced American Culture. And he actually got known on vaudeville, and the way he got known was he loved watching the theater, loved going to the shows, and hung out outside the door of a man called the Great Lester. And the great Lester was this ventriloquist magician. He had this gag where he called his sister from the afterlife. And he had a figure called Frank Byron Jr., who was basically a smart aleck. And he was cringe humor before cringe humor. Like Patrice O'Neill, move over. Patrice is a Boston guy, in case you don't know.
Indeed,
you know
yes.
Patrice, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Patrice was my favorite. Like, he was cantankerous, but Patrice would not lie to you. That's why I liked Patrice.
Yep.
But God rest his soul. And my dad thought he was funny, and my dad doesn't like anybody. So there you go. So Boston still has the best comedy. But anyway, don't tell New York.
I won't. Yeah.
But anyway,
they don't listen.
Yeah,
to it. It's blocked there.
There you go, as it should be. But anyway, so long story short, he hung out the great Lester's door. And the great Lester thought this kid was annoying, but he's like, wait a minute, maybe he has something, because he would mentor young ventriloquists. And he became Bergen's mentor. And Bergen became a big deal on vaudeville. And he became so big that when he got on the radio, people thought that Charlie McCarthy was real. Actually, this was long before we had influencers, reality stars, etc. Charlie McCarthy was getting fan mail.
And you couldn't all the radio was live, so it wouldn't even go into people's minds that he was doing like 2 tape tracks or whatever. Like, it's doing it live, and it sounds like 2 people talking.
Oh, yeah.
I'm almost like, you had to be so much better to pull off being a ventriloquist on the radio, because you don't even have the visual to like rely on of that impressiveness of like, wow, his lips aren't moving, but it's like to be impressive that way is something.
Oh yeah, and he was very impressive. And his rival coming up the pike was actually the first ventriloquist on Ed Sullivan when the show was called Toast of the Town, believe it or not. And that was Paul Winchell. And Winchell was a kid who had polio. And the reason the puppet's name was Jerry Mahoney was after his art teacher, who said, listen, you can make a ventriloquist figure for extra credit, because he had a limp. Like, he had post-polio syndrome as a kid. He was kind of having a rough time, but loved Edgar Bergen. Well, he was a better ventriloquist than Edgar Bergen. And this shows you how the industry changes. And he tried to have his own radio show, didn't work. Television comes. Technically, he is that much more impressive than Bergen. And he actually, when he had his own television show, and he was a Columbia graduate, he had a full performance schedule in college. I mean, Winchell deserves his own book. He was just incredible. He had other puppeteers move in the arms and legs so his characters would look real. And he said, listen, this is a visual medium. It's not enough to be good on the radio. You have to see me. Well, Edgar Bergen was threatened by Paul Winchell because he forgot that he was that kid outside the stage door. Okay? He forgot who he was. They got into it backstage at the Magic Castle and had to be separated, allegedly.
Because it's funny you bring up the Magic Castle too, because I always associate ventriloquism with magic. Although they're very different skill sets, I guess, and sort of very different arts. They've always been sort of intrinsically linked, most likely because they were on the same kinds of burlesque and vaudeville type shows, I imagine. And they were 2 visual entertainment styles that could easily translate on television.
Oh, absolutely. And the beautiful thing was Ed Sullivan loved booking acts out of the nightclubs, whether it was Paul Winchell, who was, soon to be the big star of ventriloquism for that era, and really studied up on the Clubhouse format, which was the big thing for children's television, which you'll see a lot in that TV guide. Clubhouse this, Clubhouse that, Captain Kangaroo. And that actually, if you know television, what you do, that was even a thing in the 90s, like Xuxa, which was a Brazilian program that came. Yep. The tumbling animals. You have her, you have all that stuff, but you also have Jimmy Nelson becoming a spokesperson. But the other thing you have is Ed Sullivan integrating television. And ventriloquists, even before Toast of the Town, they did a broadcast as part of the World's Fair in 1939 with Bob Neller, who was on television. But in 1948, Ed Sullivan was integrating television with the ink spots. So the ink spots, appeared many, many times with ventriloquists over the years.
Yeah, it's funny. I always wondered, like, how did Ed Sullivan get on TV? Like, the guy's not charismatic. He's not a host, but he was a booker. That when I found that out, he was a guy that booked nightclubs and acts. So he's the guy who knew what to put on. It makes more sense.
And he was the entertainment columnist for the New York Post, and he hosted Toast of the Town. And you know, there were people that joked that nobody knew when Ed Sullivan died because everybody thought he was dead to begin with. So
it's true. And I also noticed everyone who did an Ed Sullivan impression was very happy when Obama was in office because it's the same impression. They were like, nice, I can roll this one out again. It's pretty much the same. And it's funny when you mentioned the integration of of television, I realized that, like, I was trying to think back of who, like, sort of the first ventriloquist I became aware of as a kid, and it was Willie Tyler and Lester. He was everywhere when I was growing up, like, by a long shot.
And Willie Tyler and Lester, you know, are proof that ventriloquism has always been at the cornerstone of every cultural movement, whether it's Willie Tyler and Lester on Laugh-In. And they were doing the Brownstone Report, which was the Chappelle Show and the Daily Show before those things existed. Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop, which she was the ultimate girl boss next to Mary Tyler Moore on screen and off. Wayland and Madam on Hollywood Squares. And what do you have to say to that, May? May Wilson. Why, hello, Ken. April didn't say that you'd be so handsome.
Oh, thank you very much.
What April didn't tell you was that I was in TV Guide. She really was in TV Guide.
Do you have what issue was it?
Well, it was an issue in 2011. We were on My Strange Addiction, and I was front and center. Okay, May, enough about you. No. Let's just keep talking about me. And you said the ink spots. Yes, tell them about your tie to the ink spots. April and I recorded a song with the ink spots. It's a reprise of the 1943 track that they did with Ella Fitzgerald called That's the Way It Is.
Oh, yes. I know.
Yeah, and the song is played all around the world. Tell them some of the places that it's played. It's played in the UK, Ireland, Scotland, Germany, France, Ukraine, Japan, China, India, let's see, Australia, because I go down under, and New Zealand, and Canada, and Mexico, and South America. But enough about that, Ken. What are you doing later?
I'll probably be sleeping before 9 p.m. I'm very boring.
Boring's good, Ken, because I'll be sleeping with you.
I mean, you know, she knows what she wants and she knows how to get it, and that makes sense.
Talking about ventriloquists and your people. My people, your people. Yes, textile and Americans. Duh. So he's from Boston. Is there anything you'd like to tell him? Yes, my people weren't at the Battle of Bunker Hill or Lexington and Concord. Why is that, May? It wasn't a paying gig.
That's also very true. The My Strange Addiction, which of you had the addiction? Was it April or was it you?
Okay, well, the story is that I got engaged to a guy on the third date. Red flag! Thought, I don't want to be alone forever. But I wanted to be a ventriloquist, and I thought this was my big shot. So, I put the puppets under the bed, and I said I'm not going to be a ventriloquist. And so I was shocked when the relationship got worse and worse and worse, and he was an abusive narcissist. So I looked under the bed. I saw my puppets collecting dust. And so, May, I looked at you and I said, I miss you. And I said, April, you know what you have to do. So we walked into the kitchen. And May, what did you say? I said, Sean, it's over. You have a small dick. Sayonara, fucker.
I mean, it's almost worth it to be broken up with by a ventriloquist figure.
Yeah, and he did not take it well. But LL, sayonara.
It'd be almost worse if he did take it well, if he was like, I knew this day would come.
Well, maybe, but actually the weirder thing was we were telling the story. We've been propositioned for threesomes.
and proposition but not accepted.
No, because we were in Omaha, Nebraska, and you've done weird road gigs, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, May, we were in Omaha, and this guy comes up to us. He looks like Sling Blade, and he says, I want to take you and May up to my farmhouse up the road, and I want to have a threesome with you. Now, features don't make much money on the road.
No.
And he was going to give us $500.
We're going to split it 50-50?
Yeah, maybe. So anyway, so I said to May, it's $500. It's like, I want to be a good girl, but it's $500. I want to be a good girl, but it's bonus money. So I said to May, $500. What do you want? And he said, I want to start with you. I want to start with May and then end with you. And so I kept thinking of May in the middle of a crop circle, her stuffing out. And so I said to May, let's do some negotiating. So I said, $500 for the both of us? And he said, yes. And I said, listen, it's 1,000 minimum for me. Sayonara, fucker.
You got to know your value. You got to know your value.
Yeah, you got to know your value. And so, but yeah, that didn't end up happening, which is probably why I'm alive today. But, I would have been a cushion in his house. But May, you've been on TV several times. Yes. I've been on NBC, ABC, BBC, and what else have you been on? A lot of cocaine.
They go together, depending on the decade.
Exactly. So, the next question is, are you rich, Ken?
No, very much not. What?
This conversation's so over. Goodbye.
That happens all the time.
Listen, she is, but the phenomenal thing about ventriloquist puppets, and you see it a lot in the 50s, is you had all these guys coming from the nightclubs, and they were able to get around the censorship, and you have a message from the censor at the beginning of the TV guide.
Yeah. This is a fascinating TV guide. Like these issues always are such a weird, in a good way, insight into these early days when TV Guide started in 1947. So we're technically like 9 years into it, but really it was not until this like national era that it wasn't very niche New York. Also, there's a Dr. Spock review in here, which is kind of funny. But
the Dr. Spock, that really took me back because he became this big parenting expert where everybody's like, don't smack your kids, don't spank your kids. Well, I don't know about you. Did you get spanked growing up?
No, it was just psychological punishment.
Oh, so that's actually worse. I got spanked. Both my parents were products of the Catholic school system. We got spanked.
Yeah.
But it was like I knew friends that got grounded, and that was worse because it's like the long torture, whereas at least if you're spanked, it's over.
In and out, yeah. Yeah, my mom went to Catholic school here, and the weirdest punishment I've ever heard was one that the nuns used to do to them, where there was a funeral home across the street from the Catholic school, and they would make them go sit with the bodies.
Oh, that is weird. That's weird. And speaking of bodies, if you read the TV guide, you start to see science fiction coming up.
Yep.
And there are alien movies because this was the beginning of space exploration, actually, because we were beginning to wonder about space. And, a few years before this, you have The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it is still Klaatu Barada Nick too. And he says, "Hi, Tommy. These are diamonds." It's like, Tommy, would you like to go exploring with Mr. Carpenter, this strange man that lives in the boarding house?
Yeah. It's I love this era of sci-fi too. Like that post World War II, pre moon landing is like this very specific time of these sci-fi shows.
Sci-fi, and you get a lot of the melodramas. But the other thing that fascinated me too was you get a lot of westerns.
Yeah, king at this point. It's king. It's the number one genre, which is always funny to me later because like Star Trek's essentially a western. You had all these shows that were more or less westerns that they kind of just dressed slightly differently, like Kung Fu or even, Incredible Hulk. Like they're basically structured just like the westerns.
Oh yeah, they are. And as a matter of fact, I believe because I grew up without cable, so I watched Kung Fu. Or as my grandmother used to call it, Chang Fu. She never stopped calling it Chang Fu. So I grew up watching reruns of Kung Fu, and they are in the Old West because I believe Kwai Chang Caine works on the railroad. Am I correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and he somehow just knows Kung Fu.
I guess at that time they were like, well, they all just know. It's just inherently.
Yeah. It's not racist at all. They all know Kung Fu. Yeah, like every Chinese person, every Asian person just knows Kung Fu.
Yep.
And that was always the way it was. But I watched all the episodes, and then I watched the reboot years later. But they're all westerns, and you're absolutely right. Star Trek's a Western because space is the final frontier. But when you think of it, Westerns came out, this is post-World War II, post-Korea. Everybody just kind of forgot about Korea, you know? It's like the forgotten war,
right
like
over
you
that
forget
one.
about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, and they wanted the good versus evil. They wanted the good guys to win, and they wanted something that was pro-America. And what's more American than the cowboy?
Although I love seeing, like, one of my favorite things is I love The Prisoner. If you've ever watched that, Patrick Magoo in The Prisoner. And the sort of, very similar to how Secret Agent Man is to The Prisoner as the Rifleman is to Branded, where I'm like,
yes,
it's almost the same character. Rifleman's very black and white, very good and bad. And then Branded, it's a lot more complicated. There's a lot more gray area as we go into the 60s there. So it's fascinating to be able to see that.
Oh, absolutely. And filmmaking changed. You also get a different style of acting, because you got the melodramas from the 30s and 40s where Betty Davis and Joan Crawford ruled the roost. Then you get the 50s where things are starting to get a little more realistic, but you also get these screwball comedies with Marilyn Monroe because people need to laugh again, you know? Then you get to the 60s where you start to see the dawn of method acting, and you start to see this gritty, realistic school of acting, this gritty, realistic school of filmmaking, these gritty Westerns. And a fun fact about me is I'm from Pittsburgh and I talk with an accent, as you can tell. And when I was a kid, I thought that the actor Clint Eastwood was Clint Eastwood. I was 20 years old when I found out his name was Clint Eastwood.
But it's funny to bring up Pittsburgh because, like, they're not ventriloquist puppets, but like the puppets that I think of from childhood the most are Fred Rogers.
Oh, absolutely. Me too. Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh Institution. Obviously I'm a huge George Romero fan as well. And I'd like to pay tribute to the Century 3 Mall, which has recently been torn down.
Yeah, that's where I got my prom dress.
It's a really cool, weird mid-century mall. But Pittsburgh, a lot of people don't realize, had a pretty big, for not New York, LA, like production business out of Pittsburgh.
We had George Romero. We had Night of the Living Dead. As a matter of fact, I knew some of the nieces and nephews, grandchildren of the cast members. They were running around. We had August Wilson coming out of there, but Fred Rogers and Jim Henson were inspired by Edgar Bergen, and they said it every time they spoke. Because one thing that Bergen did, and one thing that Ventriloquist did, and they just kind of gifted it through Kukla, Fran, and Ollie and other folks, was this was a universe where puppets were real. Puppets could say anything, do anything, be anything, and they could interact with humans. And that's what made Sesame Street so phenomenal. And that's where Ricky Lane and Velvo, getting back to this issue, America was very anti-Semitic, and you see this cute little Yiddish puppet. You can't hate a cute little Yiddish puppet. You want to invite him over to a barbecue. He's funny, you know? He keeps calling Ed Sullivan, Ed Solomon, Ed Solomon. You talk with an accent, you know?
It's funny, I think, especially because stand-up was the same thing. That sort of Yiddish, Catskills, New York, very Jewish stand-up was what people think of as stand-up. That was the first stand-up people saw on television. So I think it managed to make it not feel other, in that it was the first time they were seeing it. So they go, this is how it is. This is what it's like.
Yeah, because it's very, you know, New York, very Catskills. And Paul Winchell was this young Jewish kid, and everybody, you know, a lot of kids on Saturday morning television had never seen a Jewish person in middle America,
right?
You know, but here he is. He's in your living room with Jerry Mahoney, with Knucklehead, and, you know, and he's there, and he's got the Three Stooges on, and the Three Stooges, they were, you know, they were Jewish humor, but everybody loves the Stooges, the Marx Brothers, you know, but television in people's homes, it just bridged the gap. And then with black entertainers like Willie Tyler, you know, with folks like Sherry Lewis, with folks like Waylon Flowers and Madam, who were very queer.
Oh, yes.
You know, it took away the other. And that's been the gift of television, is that it always has taken away the other. And that's why Martin Luther King Jr. was a huge Trekkie. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he wrote Nichelle Nichols, I think, a letter when she was going to quit, or he called her. It's funny when I think of Waylon Flowers and Madam, if he was around today, he would just be a drag queen. Like, he wouldn't need the puppet. You know, it would be like, is his personality, where he basically, his drag persona, he was able to just channel it through this puppet and no one questioned it.
Nobody questioned Madam. I knew people that were bartenders in the village when Wayland was coming up. And Wayland would perform outside with Madam. And he was more of an illusionist than a ventriloquist. And he would say, and Madam would say, Wayland's not a fucking ventriloquist, direct quote.
Perfect.
And Madam would come in and ask for a drink. Wayland couldn't get a drink. Madam could get a drink.
Of course. People didn't even look at him, I bet.
Nope. And he would always walk around with Madam. And Wayland and Madam were huge inspirations for me coming up. Because one thing Wayland always did, and this is what I loved about him, was I was a young ventriloquist, and I was, you know, at the beginning of your career, you're bombing all over the place. You bomb every night. You question your life decisions. Do I have talent? Do I not? And most of the time it's like, you know, well, anyway, long story short, one thing that changed my perception of how I created Mae Wilson was every time Madam got on stage, everybody was there to see her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she knew it. It wasn't like, please laugh. It was, no, you're there to see me.
It's a confidence. And we'll dig a little bit further than God in a minute, but I was always curious, and you're like the person to ask this to. You know, when I think of ventriloquism, especially at this year in the 50s, the acts are basically two-man burlesque vaudeville acts, like who's on first kind of thing. But it's one guy, you know, like, and it's almost like, well, I didn't have a comedy partner, so I made one. But I always wondered if it was always like that in ventriloquism, or if it became more like that sort of
Actually, and that's an excellent question, because originally ventriloquism was the Oracle of Delphi was the first ventriloquist. And people would go, they'd ask the Oracle a question, and she may have had a dirty sense of humor, ask Oedipus Rex. You know how that turned out. That's for the literary folks. That I went a long way for that one. But it's also a religious practice, believe it or not, in Africa, in the Maori cultures. And it came over to the United States on the slave ships. It was a religious practice where they spoke to the dead.
Oh, interesting.
So the first ventriloquists were dead talkers. And it was actually outlawed in the colonies because it was a pagan practice, you know, and it was colonialism. You must practice Christianity.
Right.
But the irony is the Cotton Mathers, the Increase Mathers, all these lawmakers were going to these Ivy League schools, translating Greek because they would all learn Greek. And they were learning about the Oracle of Delphi. So ventriloquism was always going to be ironic, you know?
Right.
So, and then you had people traveling, throwing their voices, and this guy by the name of the Baron de Mijan, who was this crazy royal, and he was like Habsburg inbred kind of guy, and so they were all nuts, and people were like, here we go, he's crazy, he's rich, because you had Philip II running around the castle dressed as a monk. I don't know if you knew that. He used to run around dressed as a monk, and they had to find him.
I didn't, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but this is what European royalty was like. You know, you just had to roll with it. And this is why, you know, everybody's lives are screwed up. These were the people in charge. So, we do little shows with this doll whose mouth didn't move. And everybody thought he was crazy, but he was just a ventriloquist, you know? And then you had Nicholas Vladimir calling the people from the dead, because people used to be buried alive quite a bit. And now they make sure you're good and dead. Hence your mom sitting with the dead bodies in the funeral home. Call back.
Yeah, exactly. They have the kids check. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, they had the kids check. Yeah, volunteer work. So, but he would call the dead from the ground. That was his big shtick. So you had wealthy colonists going to Europe and coming back, you know, merchants. And so ventriloquism made its way to the quote unquote New World. And then you had people traveling up and down the colonies, throwing their voices. You had mediums. And then the war broke out. It was post-war. And your first big superstar is a fellow by the name of Richard Potter. And here's some TV trivia. Richard Potter was black, okay? And this is 1810s, 1820s, learned it from John Rainey. He learns ventriloquism in Europe because in America, black entertainers had almost no opportunities because slavery was still legal in part of the country.
Right. And the Chitlin circuit didn't exist. It was not quite, yeah.
Nope. If you were black, you were probably, like, he was a free person born up north, but if you lived below the Mason-Dixon line, you were not free. You were not even considered a whole person without getting into the weed. 3/5 compromise. And I just want to acknowledge that I'm speaking about race as a white person. You know, I'm just doing that. So he goes to Europe, learns from John Rennie, comes back and starts touring and becomes America's first celebrity magician, ventriloquist, comedian, headliner, and tours both the North and the South when there is slavery in the South. White audiences are coming to see him. And he dies in about 1835. His grave is a historical landmarker in Andover, New Hampshire. Oh. And he was the basis for, and this is around the 50s, the character of Samuel Peyton, founder of the town, Peyton Place. And it's an old TV soap opera for those of you who don't know. Your grandmother's probably watched it. Did you ever watch an episode?
I have seen Peyton Place. Peyton Place is like Dark Shadows without the cool vampire stuff.
Yes. It's just, it's like Dark Shadows without the cool vampire stuff. Knots Landing, where the white people are even crazier.
Yes, yeah, that seems accurate. Hearing you say that, the magic thing makes sense because it's both of those sort of professions involve people kind of having to hunt down people and be taught, like martial arts, like kung fu.
Oh, yeah.
You have to sort of, everyone had their own sort of secret or their own little different thing, and it was people sort of learning from, you know,
and you found them
years.
And they mentored you, and that's the way ventriloquism still survives. But the way it became comedy was the British music halls. You started to see the comedy duo. And a guy by the name of Fred Russell, and he had a partner by the name of Coster Joe, and Coster Joe was a Cockney fellow. And suddenly it's comedy. So that's how it evolved. But Hollywood has leaned into this with Popophobia, the scary movies.
Oh, sure. I mean, Dead of Night was in the 30s, I think, with the puppet that comes to life and is, you know, the British
Dead
horror
of Night,
film.
The Great Gobbo.
Yeah, Dead of Night. So as soon as I went through this issue 2, right on page like 10, there's a Quizmasters of Edgar Bergen with all 3 characters on Do You Trust Your Wife? What was the premise of that show?
I guess it was, you know, people were like, do you trust your wife? Like, do you know enough about your wife to trust her? It's kind of insulting, honestly. Like, you know, you're married, right? Do you trust your wife? I'm sure she's great. I'm sure she's great.
Yeah, and I don't need a ventriloquist to test it.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, but it's like, listen, if you can't survive a ventriloquist, you can't survive your marriage. What can I say?
That's right. That's what Edgar Bergen was like. Yeah, this is how it is. Because I'm like, are the puppets hitting on the wife, trying to see if she'll stray?
I think it was like a quiz show. It was the Newlywed Game before the Newlywed Game.
She'll give you the answer, and you like agree or disagree. Then there's a funny thing. There's a picture of Tommy Cook here with Louise DiCarlo on the Ford Theater set of Ellie's. It's Yvonne DiCarlo's sister, who I had never heard of until this issue of TV Guide.
Because she was the lesser known sister, and he's feeding her something. And I mean, she's pretty. She just didn't get as successful. You know, everybody has a lesser sibling, I guess.
That's the Oreo to their Hydrox.
Yes, exactly.
So let's jump into some of the shows that you picked out. Did you want to go day by day?
Sure.
So we are on Saturday morning, which I imagine this is probably the first big place that a lot of this stuff would come out.
Saturday morning, you get, I didn't pick specific shows, but you get a lot of Saturday morning cartoons for the kids. You probably get Captain Kangaroo in there.
And there's Winchell Mahoney Kids.
Yep, Winchell Mahoney Kids, that was actually his big break because he really struggled in Edgar Bergen's shadow. And I talk about it in 250 Years of Ventriloquism, where he actually had his own radio program that didn't pan out, and he was very frustrated. But Winchell Mahoney Kids, they had The Secret Word. They were one of those shows. They had an orchestra, and he had sketches. And this is where you start to see the beginning of the modern sitcom, because it's like he's the father of these two, which Edgar Bergen was just kind of their keeper. He was, whereas he's their dad, he's their guardian. And it's okay, they lied in school, they did this. And there's one episode that is adorable where Jerry Mahoney doesn't want to go to school and he holds the thermometer to the heater and it breaks, and but it's like the moral of the story is la la la, everybody's happy.
Right. The classic Leave It to Beaver. Yeah. The relationship with that show, I always think of as like, this will sound like an odd parallel, but the Joel Hodgson years of MST3K, the way he interacted with the puppets there was very sort of paternal, as opposed to like Mike, who was like their roommates.
Yeah.
Very different relationship. It's there. There's some amazing stuff on this night. The wrestling show.
Yes, wrestling, professional wrestling. This was before the big WWE. It's like if somebody threw a chair, they really threw a chair. Like this was for realsies. My manager was telling me that back in the day, his father watched professional wrestling. Like it was a thing. And then my dad, when he was a Boy Scout for like 2 seconds, because his dad worked in the mills, and unless your dad was somebody in the Boy Scouts, it's like you didn't go very far. But somebody's dad worked as a cameraman and was able to get bootleg copies of midget professional wrestling.
It was huge. I remember seeing it as a kid live. I went to a live little person wrestling match. Yeah.
Whoa.
In Waltham, Mass. It was great. I realize in hindsight that it was such a odd thing to still be going on at that time. It was like a vestigial sort of carny wrestling. It hadn't quite, so there was like I think the guy brought an alligator out. Like it was like full on, the whole deal. Yeah.
He brought an alligator out?
Yeah. There was like, I'm going to wrestle this alligator, which I still don't know if it was alive or not. Probably don't want to know. But I always tell people like the two biggest sporting events televised, and the first really were wrestling and bowling, because they were the easiest ones to film. You lock down the camera, they're individual, and they were the biggest hit sports things until really the 70s. Like team sports weren't big on TV till then.
Nope. And you have a few football games in there, you have a few basketball games or whatnot, but you have to like sports for that. And college sports really hadn't caught on, because the thing is that a lot of Americans didn't go to college. If you went to high school and you were a woman, you learned how to type, you could be a secretary. In a few years, you were going to get a husband, have a baby. You weren't going to work. He could work at the insurance company. You were marrying somebody down the street anyway. College was for the rich or the smart, and most people were not rich or smart. You could do okay with a high school education.
100%. Weirdly, there's a full page ad in here for a show I've never heard of before, but sounds more salacious than it probably is. Dr. Hudson's Secret Journal.
Oh,
on Saturday
yeah, that's right. It was like,
and he's looking real sly.
Oh, Dr. Hudson's Secret Journal. Yeah, he probably was real sly with the interns when the cameras were off, but no, he was. But I think they were attempting to do a medical show. This was an attempt at a medical show.
Which is one of the genres, like every decade has a medical show. Every decade has a teacher show. Like it's funny to see those iterations. Oh, they're showing Voodoo Man at midnight too.
Oh yeah. Voodoo Man was Voodoo Man was kind of ahead of its time. It was Bela Lugosi, because Lugosi had a lot of problems with alcohol. A drunken actor, you don't say. And he could be very difficult to work with. He clashed with Boris Karloff. He was big into the actors union, et cetera, et cetera. And I know I shouldn't say et cetera, et cetera. I sound like I'm from The King and I. But anyway, fun fact, his son was very angry with Ed Wood because he felt like he exploited Lugosi Sr., which he probably did, because Lugosi Sr. was a drug addict that needed the money. Well, fast forward, Lugosi Jr. became a lawyer. And one of his contributions was celebrity trademark, especially dead celebrities.
Likeness trademark.
Yep. And he's retired now, but he was a likeness and trademark lawyer.
A big time lawyer, like a lawyer that if you said, oh, he's going to be on this case, like the people would cower.
Yeah.
Like that kind of
he was
lawyer,
Dracula scary in a different way. Dracula scary in a different way. His dad was Dracula. His kid was the scary lawyer in real life.
They'll bleed you dry in different ways.
That's good.
And John Carradine's in this too. Speaking of actors who like to imbibe, that must have been quite a quite a set.
They had it in Technicolor around Halloween, and it's like you kind of have to get into it, and yeah, you kind of have to get into it, and I don't know that it could be made today, but
yeah, it's like we got to shoot all their scenes before noon, guys. I think we all know why. Then we get New Year's Eve the next day. Did anything pop out to you on New Year's Eve?
Yeah, they had a celebration. It was a kind of a spectacular, the ice skating spectacular, which shows that things have really...
Red buttons?
Yeah, red buttons. Things have changed, but they have not.
No. I feel like ice skating it's a bit like it. It's like every 29 years, ice skating gets big on TV for a couple of years and then goes dormant again.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it gets big, Sonia Honey, red buttons, then Nancy and Tanya. You know, it was like nobody cared about ice skating until Nancy and Tanya. Then all of a sudden I wanted to ice skate. My sister wanted to ice skate. And my dad said, this is too expensive.
Nancy grew up a couple blocks from where I sit
That's
right now.
right. She's from Boston. She's a Boston girl. Yeah.
One of the best, worst episodes of SNL ever she hosted.
Yeah. Like she had no personality, and it wasn't even her fault.
Yeah.
I think some of it was the PTSD from the incident, which she was brutally attacked. But I don't think Tanya knew that was going to happen. I think her idiot husband engineered that. Like, unfortunately, she married an idiot. So, but Nancy married her manager. Her son's a gymnast at one of the service academies, and I guess she's doing pretty good. I mean, she still looks great.
She looks. I see her at TJ Maxx occasionally.
She shops at TJ Maxx.
She does. She does.
Say this is so corny.
No, it's Marshalls, TJ Maxx, Home Goods. She's a big fan.
There you go.
Yeah, it's funny too. I don't think there's like a big New Year's Eve. Like, Dick Clark's not doing his New Year's show yet, which was kind of surprising given how Dick Clark was around for 200 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think they hadn't discovered Dick Clark yet. They skated Happy New Year. It was because there was this push for wholesomeness post-war. And also it was a backlash against the Amazon feminism you saw in the Second World War. And what I mean is both my grandmothers worked. One of my grandmothers treated wounded men coming in from the front. So she saw a lot. And my other grandmother worked at the mill because the guys weren't there. And so what are you going to do? You can't wait around for these guys. No offense, but
right. Work needs doing.
Yeah, work needs doing. You know, you got to work on cars. But then they came home and they wanted the status quo, and this was another way of doing it.
Push them to the side. They've been doing this work all. You know what's super fascinating, and I didn't realize color TV was around this early, because I always think of 1966 as the first sort of full year in color. But the Happy New Year skating special is advertised as being in color.
Oh, yeah. Well, some programs were in color, others weren't. You know, it was like, but you knew a lot of money was going into it if it was in color. Absolutely.
It's playing on 4 different channels. It's on 5, 4, 39, and 46. It has a big color thing. And at the very bottom of the listing, it says, Channel 39 will not telecast in color.
Channel 39 will not telecast in color, only black and white.
They refuse. Yeah, they're not doing that newfangled stuff. That's not a Channel 39 kind of thing.
That is not on 39. That will never be on Channel 39.
One of my other favorite trivia pieces is I think she might have won the Young Ventriloquist competition they used to have in the 70s. They may still have it now. But Lisa Whelchel of Facts of Life.
Facts of Life.
Huge ventriloquist.
Yeah, she was a ventriloquist on the Mickey Mouse Club, but later when she got to Facts of Life, just stopped doing that. And but then she is now a born-again Christian mom, right?
Oh, very much, yeah. She writes books about how to Christian raise your children.
With hot sauce. It was this weird punishment with hot sauce that did her in.
Yeah, that was it. She did pull out the ventriloquism in a later season episode of Facts of Life.
Oh, yeah, that's right. This is coming back, yep.
It's that trope where, and I don't know who the first sitcom to do this was, but it's the combination of we got to put on a show for Christmas and we're putting on a show at a prison.
Oh, yeah, prison.
There's like
we want everybody to be hunky-dory, even these prisoners that, no offense, probably did something to get there. needs to be hunky-dory.
Right. We're all going to be Johnny Cash. But so she does her ventriloquist act in that as part of their like variety show that they do in the prison.
Yeah, that's right. She does the ventriloquist act. Yep. But she was actually pretty good. But the weird thing is that into the 60s, and you're going to see some religious programming when you get to Sunday, is religious organizations had their own radio shows or their own radio stations that were typically low frequency. And when you get to television, you start to see these religious organizations have their own services. You start to see mass and service broadcast, and it's the beginning of the Pat Robertsons. It's the beginning of the Tammy Fays. It's the beginning of the Jim Bakkers, who all used puppets. And it's also the beginning of, yes, Tammy Faye would use puppets. This is how they would preach to children. And it's the beginning of this wave of ventriloquists who are religious. You have Vonda K. Van Dyke, who was a Miss America in the mid-60s, who was religious, her and Curly Q. And she wasn't religious as Miss America, but she appeared on Ed Sullivan, and she would do the Christian circuit. She wrote Christian devotionals for young women as a backlash to feminism, and actually still preaches. She's 80-something years old. She's widowed, but she still preaches. But also Marcy Tyner and Little Marcy, who made gold records, believe it or not. Children would come to see them, and like them, don't like them, 2 million record sales is impressive, you know?
That's not nothing. Yeah, thinking about it, I remember in the 80s and 90s, there was a religious puppet show called Gerbert.
Yes.
Very popular. Yes. Not a great show.
No, Gerbert was kind of creepy. Gerbert and Little Marcy was kind of creepy too. And there was this, Little Marcy, right?
Oh, yes. I've seen Little Marcy clips.
Little Marcy, she was more or less big in the Pacific Northwest because that's where Marcy Tyner lived. And she actually played several instruments. She was very talented. She was actually a talented lady, but had a high-pitched voice and, didn't want to perform her songs as herself, and met Vonda K. Van Dyke, who said, hey, you should learn ventriloquism, suggested Paul Winchell's Ventriloquism for Fun and Profit, and she read it. And so she had Edgar Bergen's original puppet maker, Theodore Mack, make Little Marcy. And she toured with Little Marcy. And Little Marcy, the conspiracy online, is that Little Marcy was the inspiration for Annabelle.
Oh, I could see that 100%.
Oh, yes. And Little Marcy, when I wrote the book, her comment was, I don't say anything bad about anyone. But anyway, her records are available, and they play them on all these, fringe shows, and she's got a cult following now, because some of them, devil, out, devil.
Everything's a niche now. There's very little broadcasting, but the beauty of that is all these really fringy things have an audience that they never would have had in the past.
Because as she got older, she wound down, but anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
The only religious show of this era that I feel still holds up and I will still watch is David and Goliath.
Oh, David and Goliath. David and Goliath every Easter. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Davy, the talking dog, it's great. And who doesn't love Gumby? Where are we on Monday? Anything pop up for you on Monday?
Monday, nothing really popped up on Monday. Oh, Sunday. We're on Sunday. Ed Sullivan popped up.
Sunday. Yes, Sunday was Ed Sullivan every Sunday, and this is the reason you picked it.
Yes, this is the reason I picked it. I forgot all about Ed Sullivan, because I forget that he was on Sunday. Sunday at 7:00, that was Ricky Lane and Velvel making their debut. I'm bad. Ricky Lane, Velvel, please forgive me.
Have you seen this footage? Does this episode exist? Are you able to watch this?
I don't think I saw the episode itself, but I've seen clips of him on Ed Sullivan, and he is very funny. And believe it or not, bringing it back to our era, he was the inspiration for Triumph the Insult Dog.
Of course, that makes sense.
Yes.
That makes perfect sense. Because I think most people associate, is it Senor Winches with Ed Sullivan?
Yes,
and
Senor Winches, yep.
And that was much later, right?
That was several years later. And he was more or less big in the United States, but his brother Felipe was actually the mastermind behind the act.
Oh, I had no idea. I know nothing about him.
Oh, yeah. And the reason he had the guy in the box was he got into an accident performing on the circuit. And his dummy was decapitated.
Jeez.
And the show must go on. And then you had Johnny, because as a kid, he would play jokes and he got in trouble. And so he made Johnny is like a joke. And he's like, hello, and that's why he drew Johnny. And he he totally changed ventriloquism. He made the art form explode.
It was almost like alt comedy.
Yeah.
But for ventriloquism, like kind of, it felt, seeing his stuff feels a little bit like, it's not a holdover from another era.
No.
It's like, this is someone in the age of television who's invented this version of this.
Yes,
for
it's
TV.
cool, it's hip, it's rock and roll, because 55, 56, it's 2 years before you see Elvis. Elvis is coming up the pike. And you see the Opry in the back, where country music, it's got an audience in the South, and it's got an audience when you drive in the middle of nowhere. But Elvis is about to be its first crossover star.
So you needed other kind of rock star things. Is there, when you were like researching the book, or just like your own interest in ventriloquism, is there sort of not an unknown famous act, but like a lost media? Is there like a ventriloquist that was on TV all the time, but just like there's no footage? Or like,
there were a lot of guys that came and went, but one guy that I wish this generation knew a little better was Jay Marshall in Lefty. And because he was one of those guys that traveled USO. And one of the issues was he had a puppet named Harry. Harry didn't fit in the duffel bag. So he saw a pamphlet from a British magic show. He got creative. He had a little bag, little glove. He made it a character. Somebody suggested making Lefty a rabbit. And Lefty was a hit every time he was on television. And it was really rock and roll. And I wish more people knew about Jay Marshall and Lefty.
I will make note. I will find some footage if I can and attach it to the episode here. You'll also see Romper Room, which I always like to bring up because Romper Room was a franchise show, and the Boston Romper Room lost their Romper Room license because they were selling unsanctioned merchandise.
Oh, no.
They were selling the show, the Boston Romper Room apparently was mostly them just pushing toys. So they were stripped of their Romper Room.
Perish the thought. You don't mess with the Romper Room.
They're like, we're taking it back.
No romper room for you. No romping in this room.
It's funny that I'm thinking about like these acts that are on sort of late night variety shows, which yes is a sort of family hour, but it's a primetime show, and then so easily translates to children's television without changing the act at all.
Yeah, and actually, but that's the skill of ventriloquism, is they were the most versatile entertainers on the circuit. Because when you think of it, a ventriloquist had to be a doubles act where you created your own partner. You had to be a comedian. You had to be quick. And then they were also singers in the same act too. So they were some of the most versatile entertainers on the circuit. And that's why, again, you see them in medicine shows, you see them on vaudeville, radio, television. And now they're taking over TikTok, the internet, YouTube, whatever, because it's an online variety show and they're able to adjust to new places, new mediums. And it's also, you've been a road comic. It's like one venue, the acoustics are great. The other one, there might be blood on the floor.
And just a busted amp with a really bad microphone, and you got to deal with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I did a show at a bowling alley once, and they said, we didn't know you were here. Thank you.
My favorite story that I like to tell is we performed at Occupy Wall Street.
Oh, that's fun.
And because comics will do any show.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just about to start the show and someone was like, I'm just going to make this announcement and then you guys can start. And the announcement was like, Solidarity March with Oakland right now. And literally every single person left except for two people, one of whom was asleep and the other one was in a wheelchair. And I was like, I guess we're not doing the show. And the comic's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, there are two people here and they are only here because they are physically unable to leave. Like, we are not doing a show. Like, we can ask them if they want to see a show, but I do not want to inflict a show on these people who are like stuck here. That one I was like, oh yeah, this is comics, everybody. They will do a show anywhere for
But we
anyone
will.
or
We
no
will
one.
do a show for two people. One of the most fun shows I ever did with her was a show where everybody was blitzed. And it was, everybody was blitzed, and this one guy was in a suit and he wanted to film his act, and he was just getting so upset. And I'm just like, screw it. Like, let's just have fun. And it was, I had May out. I was hopping around the room. And I'm just like, that was the most insane show I ever did. I'm probably never going to get to do a show like this again. But this was cool. And then another one, May got into a fight with a drunk here in Las Vegas who said, and I kid you not, we had a Craigslist joke. She started screaming, "The Craigslist killer killed my family." This chick in the audience, "The Craigslist killer killed my family." And so I had May Wilson on my arm, and May Wilson says, "Well, I guess they got the wrong family member."
Which she can get away with, but you couldn't have said
I could
that.
not. No, I'd be like I'd be like Lisa Lampanelli without the bite. But May Wilson could get away with it, which is why puppets have survived. They can get away with anything. So anyway, long story short, May Wilson, so she has to be let out, and she wants her money back for getting into a fight with a puppet. So I was like a legend for 5 whole seconds.
Yeah, those shows where you're like, hey, this is out in the ether and gone. It's
it was out in the ether
It's just
and
a
gone.
one-time
And,
experience. It's here.
And here's the thing. Bergen had brought the comedy duo, laid the gold standard for radio, because on radio you still have a jock and their partner, the comedy duo. Daytime television, the comedy duo, case in point, Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon. I don't think he thought of that when he popularized the comedy duo. I don't think he thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's like those are the ones that get the biggest when it's not thought out. It's just done.
Yeah.
They're not like trying to reverse engineer a reaction. They're just like, here's what it is. And I don't see them in this TV guide, but I always have to mention my favorite comedy duo of this era, Bob and Ray.
Oh, Bob and Ray, of course, man.
So funny.
So funny.
And I don't know why more people don't talk, like younger comics and stuff. I'm like, this stuff feels so fresh and just like modern. Like, it's amazing.
Well, and actually the reason you don't see as many comedy duos is, and this is why, ventriloquism kind of took off too, it's economic, is comedy duos, you had to pay 2 people. If you're a booker, who do you want to pay? 2 people. 2 people cost more.
And they have disagreements, whereas with ventriloquists, that's much easier to mitigate.
You put your partner in the bag, that's that. Whereas a comedy duo, they break up. Abbott and Costello hated each other at the end. Could not even work together.
And are stuck. They're stuck.
You're stuck.
Like
they signed a contract. They're stuck.
Means of income.
Yeah, their last few films, they weren't even there on the same day.
They had to invent new special effects in order to have them on camera at the same time.
Yeah, like literally, there were. I think it was one of the last films they made. But at the end of their lives, they made peace, but they hated each other.
That's how you know it's a good comedy duo.
Yeah,
if they
that's
don't
why
go
they were
through
so
the hating
successful.
each other period.
They hated each other.
You got to be fueled by something, and sometimes it's spite.
Yes,
it makes
spite
good
makes fabulous comedy.
Why did you pick Las Vegas? Why did you move to Vegas? For performance wise?
Well, I moved to Las Vegas because I had been in New York City for over 10 years, and I got the opportunity to do a show here. And I stayed, but actually I had come to do one show. I had 2 weekends. It was in February 2020. I was supposed to open in March of 2020. You know what happened. Mm-hmm. And I stayed.
Because it's so different from the East. Like, I've only been to Las Vegas once, and I was like, this is not for me.
Yeah, and well, it's a different world, but I was a special guest star for 9 months in a show out here. It was a great experience. I got to meet people from all over the world, and I thought that I knew everything about how to be a comedian. You don't know anything. Vegas is a new kind of teacher.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Like, it's the hyper engaged and completely disengaged audiences at once. Like, why people are here is so different. Yeah, it's
they don't like political comedy the way we do back east.
Nope.
But it's different, and different is good, and different is what makes you a good comic. That's what I feel, because sometimes People get stuck in the New York City bubble. They get stuck in the Boston bubble. They get stuck even in the LA bubble.
You have to develop different skill sets.
Yes, you do.
Bombing makes you better. I'm going to continue to tell myself
bombing makes you feel worse, but it's going to make you better. I promise.
Exactly. 100%. Anything else in here? I don't want to take up your whole night. Was there another show this week?
The Do You Trust Your Wife? They actually run a full page on it.
Yes. Yes.
And then there's also Celebrity Circus, where they have a fellow who's a ventriloquist, or Superstar Circus, which was Celebrity Circus, Superstar Circus. They always had circuses. Little Margie.
A very popular show that I don't feel like exists really now.
Nope. Little Margie. My Little Margie. But also you have Captain Kangaroo in there. You have Howdy Doody. You have all these great shows in there. And you see them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, where you also have This Is Your Life, which if you've ever watched Sesame Street, they lampoon that. You have Queen for a Day. Do you know Queen for a Day?
Queen for a Day, which they still use in legal terms. Mm-hmm. They still use that when people go do like a immunity plea.
Yep, Queen for a Day, yep. Which I didn't know what Queen for a Day was until I saw it. And it's all these people with miserable lives. How miserable is your life?
Yes. It's almost cruel feeling. Like, it's almost like, we're going to give you the best day of your life, and you know it is. Like, here's the peak.
Here's the peak. I know that your life sucks, but this is going to be the freaking peak, baby. Yeah, that's Queen for a Day. And you have all those shows. And also you have Groucho Marx in there with You Bet Your Life, which seeing him without his brothers was always interesting.
I always loved it because he's sort of untethered when he's without them. Like, that's when he's at his like sharpest and most sort of improvisational, because you see him listen more, I feel like. And you can see his wheels turning, and I'm always like, what's he going to do?
Oh yeah. And even when there was a famous episode where there was a guy who, he said, how many kids do you have? He said, I have 7. He goes, well, I like my cigar, but I take my cigar out of my mouth.
Yeah. Well, then there's also an amazing episode. I think it's Candice Bergen's first ever TV appearance she's on. And I think they have to guess who she's related to, somebody famous. And she's probably 12 or 13. It's very, very cute with him on there. And then Phil Silvers is on, which I, to this day, will watch any Phil Silvers thing. Like, just so funny.
Oh, he was so funny. And you also have movies being broadcast. Like, they have Playhouse 60. You get a lot of melodramas in there. But also the other thing you get in there is this is Deadline and the Wrap.com before those sites existed. Judy Garland signs a contract here. Somebody signs a contract there. It's like the white pages for show business.
Teletype. Like, it's a little gossip page. And I have Do You Trust Your Wife here? It says, couples chosen for their unusual backgrounds are asked 2 sets of questions for a total of $1,200. The husband may either answer them himself or, quote unquote, trust his wife to answer. Is there anything you watch now? Do you have like a comfort show or like a show you watch to go to sleep?
Oh God, I just watched something from Harlan Coben.
Oh, I don't know it.
One of the newest ones that he did. I've been watching that. I watched reruns of stuff. I just watched Some Like It Hot for the first time in I don't know how many years. I forgot how funny that show was. I watch a lot of Lifetime movies.
Current Lifetime movies that are all like slasher movies, or like the classic
ones from the past where the husbands actually deserve to die.
Yep.
I watch a lot of old movies, a lot of classic horror, a lot of Joan Crawford, love her and Queen Bee, love anything with Mae West.
I was just watching Trog the other night. Speaking of
Trog, that's when bad movies happen to good actors.
Yeah, her just watching her in that movie is an amazing lesson in someone trying to do a good job, but also conveying like, my God.
And, and Mommy Dearest, I'm not sure what the story is there. There's her side, and the truth. And honestly, I think, she may have been crazy, but, she found herself on her own with 2 kids and an ending career. She was Douglas Fairbanks Jr. left her out to dry. Like, she was trying. Also, in Mommy Dearest, her daughter talks about having sex at 13 and her mom freaking out. It's like, what do you want? A cookie?
Right. That sounds like a normal thing that would happen. That's not going to shock most people.
Yeah, but it was like she was kind of shocked, and then she doesn't speak to her mother for 4 years, but thinks she's going to be in the will.
Right.
And I'm not saying Joan was a great parent, but there's a lot going on there.
You could have waited like 2 years to release the book and then got the will and the book money. But she was greedy and needed to get it while she was still alive.
Yeah, she needed to get it while she was still alive. And what it was is that she didn't pan out. And she was pissed that she didn't pan out.
Of course.
And a lot of the advice Joan Crawford gave her, she was trying to protect the kid. Because she said, don't use my last name. Because this was the 60s and the studio system, that was passe. You did not want that stink.
Yeah.
And the kid wasn't pretty like mom. And so she said, do your own thing. Like using my name is not going to get you in the door. She tried to get her a job, whatever, like she tried to get her a job where she'd meet people, blah, 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 blah. And she used the media to basically say, my mom's not helping. Like she was just a pain.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure Joan Crawford was crazy,
of course.
but she really couldn't help her kid. She couldn't even get an acting job herself.
Yeah.
And she stepped up to be on that soap opera, and I have no doubt her ego did it and she was drunk, but they were also going to fire the kid. She was trying to help.
Right. Yeah. It's so complex and weird. I'm forever grateful.
But I love the movie. No
great.
more wire hangers.
Oh yeah. The DVD has a John Waters commentary. Like there's no movie that's not great with a John Waters commentary.
She was mad about the movie because they were in such a hurry to sell the book, sell the script, yada, yada, yada. And she was bailing both those kids out because little stupid left two families, and she had both of his wives and their families' addresses. Why do you think she was doing that? She was paying for things. Okay, hello.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So, but they want money, money, money.
Of course.
And so she's in a hurry to sell this book. Her idiot husband wants to be the producer for this film. And it's just an absolute schlock job. But I will say, it's like this is not my first rodeo. Yeah. And I say that all the time.
Or that's opening scene where she's like got her face in the ice thing, it's like that like morning routine that's just like, man, that's hardcore.
Insane. And she's putting lotion on her elbow. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the dirt.
And that was when America
chopping the tree
America.
With the axe and the evening gown.
And that's the problem with having no one's shocked anymore by tell-all, so we'll never get another experience like that with a celebrity again.
Yeah,
in real time.
And it was, but it was like it gave birth to a genre, and where actually, and the other thing was she was trying to make it as a writer when her mom was alive, and just wrote about having a celebrity parent. But one of the things that they say to people is, why write a book and why should you write it? Like when I wrote 250 Years of American Ventriloquism, my manager suggested that I write this because I'm a history buff. I have an MFA in creative writing and I'm a ventriloquist. She was raised by a celebrity and somebody said, in order to sell this, you have to make this more salacious because people just don't want to read about you and your mom.
Right. There's no conflict, right? There you go.
They wanted her to spice it up.
Yeah.
It was probably a literary agent. Spice it up, honey.
Couldn't there be some horrifying abuse in here somewhere so everyone can enjoy this book?
Your mom locked you in the closet when you stole something. Okay. Could she just lock you in the closet to lock you in the closet?
And instead of for 15 minutes, can it be 2 weeks? Could it be like Bad Ronald?
2 weeks, yeah, 2 weeks. Oh, and can we leave out the part where your brother had behavioral issues and she dragged him to every doctor ever and just basically depleted her life savings trying to help him? Can she just strap him into bed? Can we just leave that out?
It's a shorthand. The audience will like it better that way.
Yeah, can we leave out the part where he would show up to your mother's house asking for money and got physically abusive? No, we just like it when she's just mean and nasty.
Yeah,
you have a villain now.
We want to see the pretty people fail.
Yeah, exactly. It's like let's not hear about how generous she was and how she didn't want you spoiled. She beat you with a wire hanger. Well, I did it. We don't care. She just beat you to beat you. It's a better story, kid.
Just cut out all that backstory. We don't need it. It's
Yeah.
we're streamlining. Do you have a preference where people buy the book? Would you rather? Is there any place you'd rather they get it?
Amazon, anywhere books are sold, buy it, please.
Yes, I will put links so people can buy the book. Thank you so much for doing this. It's been so great to talk to you, and I appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Thank you.
There you go, 2 guests actually, because Anyway, April's super funny, very nice. Buy her book, 250 Years of American Ventriloquism. You can get it on Amazon. I can put links in the show description, or just shoot me a message on Patreon or ken@kenread.com, tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com. Go on the Patreon, social media, all that kind of stuff. We are on to month 8 of 2026, everybody, and I will be here next week, so I hope you will too, for a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor.
And I said, "You're always going to remember your first ventriloquist, aren't you?" And the kid goes, "No."